Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. And today, externally, inside of the despotic nation state of Eritrea, we can now confirm that universal conscription beyond what you would ordinarily see inside of the despotic state of Eritrea is occurring. So normally all fighting age males and females, once you turn fighting age 18, 19 years old, you report for your national indentured service. Now, you could be in the military, you could be a slave for the regime, building villas and palaces and what have you, or you could actually be assigned to a combat unit, but you are indentured for a indefinite period of time inside of the despotic nation state of Eritrea. Now, what we're seeing now is personnel who have been dismissed from indentured servitude by the state are now being recalled back into servitude for the state. And that really kind of points in one direction, that things are not going well for the Eritrean military. There have been a number of defeats going all the way back to late 2020, and now as the Eritrean Army attempts to move into parts of northern Tigray, it is again facing some rather significant challenges in its ongoing endeavors. And we also have received very credible reports. In fact, we have actually heard the announcement that was made by the Eritrean government stipulating that if those personnel who are supposed to report for duty in the Eritrean military, and these are recalled personnel who have already gone through their national service, if these folks did not report back to service, then the family members of those service member personnel who were not reporting for duty could be punished in some way or fashion. So again, you can really see the despotism that is taking place inside of that country, and it is very glaringly apparent that they need more and more soldiers to fill the ranks of those who have been vanquished as they have been moved into the Tigray region and are continuing to face very, very intense fighting in northern Tigray. Now, we've also gotten reports that much of the fighting is being done by Abiy loyalist personnel that were transferred from the former state of Ethiopia and then moved into the Eritrean despotic state, and then used in terms of more or less the front lines while the Eritrean forces were held back in reserve. We simply do not believe here at MFAN that is feasible. And we believe that a lot of the fighting is in fact being done by the Eritrean Army, especially in some of the battles near Shiraro and north, near the border area north of Shire. And we believe that, yes, there are Abiy loyalist forces that have been transferred but into Eritrea to do some of this fighting. But most of the fighting is being done by the Eritrean military, and I'll try to explain why. So many of the troops that would be transferred and moved from what you would define as Ethiopia proper, and then transferred via Western Tigray, and then moved into Eritrea. Many of these troops are either Oromo or Amhara, conscripts, or what we would define as somewhat forced volunteers to take part in this conflict. And those personnel, one, would have difficulty in some cases communicating with Eritrean forces. Two, the supply lines and logistical lines that it would take to maintain a large Abiy loyalist army in Eritrea is very, very significant and would not be easily done by the Abiy Ahmed regime. It would be very, very difficult to deploy thousands and thousands of troops to the Tigray Eritrean border via central Ethiopia. And those forces, compounding that, are simply not very well versed in the terrain of what you would call the Eritrean Tigray border area. Much different terrain you see in this area than you would see in the Amhara region or even or even in Oromia. The terrain in Oromia is very, very lush, forested, subtropical. In Eritrea, it is very, very much a desert type environment with a lot of rocks and hills and dry, very, very arid, hot mountain ranges. So again, quite a bit different in terms of terrain that these forces would have experienced in even the northern Amhara region, the Oromia region, in terms of those forces being deployed. And then having the logistical ability to then supply those troops directly from Ethiopia itself would be very, very difficult. That's why I don't believe that most of the fighting is being done by Abiy loyalist forces that have been transported into Eritrea. I really believe that most of the fighting is being done by the Eritrean Army, at least along the Tigray Eritrean border. The logistical capacity to move, and it would have to be tens of thousands of forces to Eritrea and then continue to supply those forces, is simply something that I don't believe could take place. And then compounding that, if you're looking at moving tanks, and the Abiy loyalist formations have lost quite a few tanks in the ongoing conflict, and to take tanks and armored fighting vehicles and then supply those tanks and maintenance those tanks in this very, very inhospitable area would be incredibly difficult for the Abiy loyalist forces. So I guess my point is that a lot of the fighting that we're seeing up in the north here along the Eritrean Tigray border is predominantly being done actually by Eritrean forces. Yes, there are some Abiy loyalist forces that have been moved into this area, but by and large, I think you can say for certain that a lot of the fighting is being done actually by the Eritrean Army and not the Abiy loyalist army. Right now, the Abiy loyalist forces really are having a tough time in the areas south of Kobo. They continue to face the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Tens of thousands of Tigrayan Defense Forces have moved south, seizing control of Kobo Rabat, and have besieged Weldia and taken vast areas of land in the northeastern Amhara region as that fight continues. The Tigrayan Defense Forces have also established fairly significant defensive lines running from Sokoto down towards Lalibela as well, and established buffer zones in the Afar region. We have also received reports in the Debidet area, in this area here, that the Tigray Defense Forces have defeated a Abiy loyalist and Eritrean force contingent that was deployed near the Dekezi River. We can confirm that hundreds of Abiy loyalist personnel have been captured in the ongoing fighting that has taken place in what you would call the borderlands of western Tigray with central Tigray near Debidet. and that fighting continues as we speak. We also will circle back up towards Shiraro and Shire. The fighting is still dozens of kilometers to the north of Shire. Eritrean forces have not progressed that far. The fighting is not taking place on the outskirts of Shire. It's more towards the border, the shared border with Eritrea and the Tigray region. We still don't know for certain if Shiraro is under the full control of a B loyalist or Eritrean army forces as well. Again, very, very flat area, more conducive to some of the tactics and operational abilities of the Eritrean and a B loyalist armies. Again, not very mountainous, very flat, and it should be. It should be taken relatively easy by a B loyalist and Eritrean army forces, but we're not sure that has in fact happened as of yet. Again, information is very, very difficult to ascertain in this area, but we know that Shire is still under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces, and very, very serious battles are continuing to take place. And again, that is why you're continuing to see this reserve call-up, this massive call-up of forces that are taking place inside of Eritrea. Basically, any fighting age male under the age of 55 is now obligated to report for duty. So very, very concerned moves by the Eritrean military in terms of what it is doing, in terms of this continued call-up of reservists. But that is pretty much what is happening today. We will continue to monitor, report, and obviously, if we receive any more information, we will report it immediately. We may be coming and being able to get some more information early next week that may interest you. We'll have to see what happens and how this information pans out. But we look forward to possibly sharing some new information that we may get early next week that could be relevant in this ongoing conflict that we're all watching very, very closely. So again, thanks for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. And as always, have a good day.